This is a round 1 matchup from the very first ESL Total War Warhammer tournament. Nurbis of the ODM clan playing against AggonyDuck. Greenskins are overall a better faction than Bretonnia in the current meta. They just simply have more options and variation and viable potential builds, but Bretonnia does have some advantages that are often overlooked. We talked about it before, air superiority is their biggest trump card, being able to quickly isolate enemy flyers and lords in the air and overrun them in melee can give them a huge advantage at the start of battles, but Duck has wisely chosen to forgo Azhag on Skullmuncha, which is typically the go-to Lord character for the Greenskins. He's a Lore of Death caster with a ton of mobility. It's usually too good to pass up, but Duck does not want that Pegasus Knight unit and King Louen on Beaquis flying in and ripping him apart in melee, so he's gone for a Orc Warboss on a Boar and a Goblin Shaman with Gaze of Mork magic missiles to round out his hero characters. Looking at the Bretonnia build, we've got a bunch of Spearmen-at-Arms, 4 Knights of the Realm, 5 Peasant Longbowmen, Pegasus Knight, and King Louen. And looking at AggonyDuck's army, he has gone for a kind of weak center line, melee center. It's 4 Orc Boys and 2 Savage Orcs. There isn't a ton of killing power there, but he does have a ton of killing power in that Arachnarok Spider. So a lot of his funds are actually invested in these 4 Orc Boar Boy Big Guns as well. He has 4 of those on the field. They're very powerful cavalry, but a little dangerous against Bretonnia because Knights of the Realm can trade quite cost effectively with them when backed up by cheap Spearmen-at-Arms. And combined arms tactics from Nurbis on the flanks will be a great way to give him an advantage in a cavalry fight. A 300 gold men-at-arms spearman unit can easily help a Knights of the Realm beat a Orc Boar Boy Big Gun. So Pegasus Knights here on the flanks, and Nurbis is actually going to have a pretty significant terrain advantage in this battle as AggonyDuck is crossing the river right now. He is going to have that hill, which is going to force AggonyDuck and this Greenskin build to run up the hill and take an engagement where Bretonnia is basically going to have a relatively large downhill charge from the Knights of the Realm and from the Spearmen-at-Arms, which of course aren't known for their charge bonus. But it's going to make it difficult for the Boar Boys for AggonyDuck because they're going to have to run uphill on the flanks to get into a threatening position to deal with those Peasant Longbowmen, which can shred those Orc Boys. Now over here, Nurbis is going to make a micro mistake. He is going to completely forget about this Knights of the Realm unit that's going to get charged by some Wolf Riders and then some of the Boar Boy Big Guns. They're going to just completely overwhelm this Knight of the Realm, completely destroy him, and he's got some more Goblin Wolf Riders getting into a flanking position. Magic Missile going off, going to whiff right by Louen, and we'll probably be seeing Gaze of Mork quite a lot in this battle. Definitely wants to be taking King Louen off the field as soon as possible. And look at those Orc Boys just getting shredded from the flank by these Peasant Longbowmen. Doing quite a bit of damage right now. And with that focus fire, with 3 or 4 Peasant Longbowmen units shooting into a single Orc Boy or a Savage Orc, they will just drop so quickly. And this is going to be a kind of difficult engagement for Duck, even though he probably does have a melee advantage. It doesn't take much killing power from the Greenskins to cut through Spearmen-at-Arms. But he does have to worry about all that cavalry on the field. He does have to worry about that uphill charge, the downhill charge from the Bretonnians. So as his army moves up now, Arachnarok Spider in the center, getting ready to get into melee. And now the cavalry for AggonyDuck is moving around the flank, trying to get into a threatening position. Really wants to get into those Peasant Longbowmen who are doing quite a bit of damage right now. Lots of skirmish fire from them. And Chain Lightning, the Vortex spell from the Bretonnian lady, the damsel, is going to go off and not do a whole lot of damage. That is a waste of Winds of Magic. As you guys know, Vortex spells in this game currently don't do a whole lot of damage. Downhill charge coming from Knights of the Realm. Good charge into the Orc Boar Boy Big Guns, and Pegasus Knights circling around, going to get a hammer and anvil off into the back of some of these more Boar Boys, but they are pulling away, and there's no anvil there to tie them down. So Knights of the Realm charging in, and now the Arachnarok Spider is going to start munching on these Spearmen-at-Arms in the back with the shield. They've already wrapped. Look at how fast those guys are able to run from the field. They're not shattered. They will come back. But now Orc Boys actually getting ripped apart by King Louen and the front line of Spearmen. They routed so quickly there. Must have taken a lot of damage from the Peasant Longbowmen. And now AggonyDuck's cavalry charge is coming in a very threatening position. But King Louen from Nurbis is going to go down and tie down that Boar Boy unit, prevent them from getting a charge. He could have killed 3 of those archer units very easily. Rear charge from those would have sent a panic rippling through the Bretonnian main line. But good stop there from Nurbis to get Louen in there. Now Knights of the Realm charging in. Going to get a good charge and Curse of the Midnight Wind. Minus 34 melee attack, minus 15 armor. Going off on that group of goblins and orc boys right there. That will definitely be a nice debuff, one of the better spells of the Lore of Heavens. And now, looks like Sneaky Stabbin' is getting casted as well. That's going to counteract the minus 34 melee attack from Curse of the Midnight Wind. And the Bretonnian main line is starting to crumble a little bit, but King Louen is getting ready to go into melee now. Is going to pop Stand Your Ground and buff up those Spearmen at Arms. Should allow them to stay in the fight for a little bit longer, even though they do have low leadership at this point. Over here, the Orc Warboss for AggonyDuck is going to get tied down and isolated by the Knights of the Realm, but Arachnarok Spider coming in to reinforce, going to protect the Orc Warboss, and now they're going to pull out and charge downhill, get a fantastic charge into the Orc boys, carrying through their main line. Knights of the Realm definitely making a big impact on the battle, and Pegasus Knights almost full HP coming in now, but both players have their two biggest trump cards in the field. AggonyDuck with that Arachnarok Spider still stomping around in the back lines, doing a ton of damage, and King Louen in the central engagement doing quite a bit of work there as well. Now the Pegasus Knights this mobility is going to be a really important factor in the late game here, being able to charge in and send those Savage Orcs and some of the Boar boys fly in there. One of those Pegasus Knights is going to carry over a little bit too far and miss that charge, but there is crumbling on the main line for Bretonnia. You can see a lot of wavering over here, but Greenskins are really beat up with the Arachnarok Spider coming in to reinforce. I think AggonyDuck will win his right flank. I can't imagine those Pegasus Knights are going to want to stick around in melee for too long there. King Louen hunting down the Goblin Shaman in the back lines. Should be able to finish that off if he wants to commit to it, but it's routing. Maybe he doesn't want to make sure that he dies. We'll see in a second. He's one hit away from death, and I think King Louen might have pulled off there. So now looking at what we have left, we have a bunch of the routing units for Bretonnia coming back now. Peasant Longwomen, some of the Spearmen at Arms. Actually, I think that Goblin Shaman might go down in the back. And over here, the Arachnarok Spider and the Orc Warboss cleaning up the very few Knights of the Realm that are left on this side and the Spearmen at Arms. So AggonyDuck has one over here, and that's it. Those Knights of the Realms have shattered. Orc Warboss putting in quite a bit of work right now. And a handful of those Knights of the Realm coming back, but now it's going to be final engagement. Both players seem to have a decent amount of funds left on the field. We'll see how the end goes here. Some Peasant Longwomen getting pot shots into the Arachnarok Spider. Won't be able to do much damage considering that thing's high armor and just massive, massive stats. So Duck is going to pull away and make sure it doesn't get shot anymore. King Louen trying to make sure these Savage Orcs don't come back. Might be able to shatter them with a couple more charges. We'll see if he decides to chase after them. But I think Louen might be needed in this main engagement where AggonyDuck is now pushing up the center. Backed up by the Arachnarok Spider, just a handful of the remnants of his Greenskin main line. But again, his two most important units are mostly full HP, the Spider and the Orc Warboss, who's now going to go charge directly into the Peasant Longwomen and carry through, start laying the smackdown on them, put a lot of hurt into those Peasant Longwomen. Probably dropped 6 or 7 models on that charge. King Louen has come back, and this is going to be extremely important. If King Louen can take off the Orc Warboss here, I think Nurbis is going to have the game. If AggonyDuck surrounds King Louen here, an Arachnarok Spider and an Orc Warboss should be able to take on King Louen and Beaquis. But a lot of troops coming in now. The bonus versus large of the Spearmen at Arms coming in to reinforce. Flanking charge coming in from the Knights of the Realm. This is going to be a really close battle. Buffs going off. And this is going to come down to the general engagement. Pegasus Knights coming in from the back. They came back from routing. We'll see who they decide to go into. I don't think they want to deal with those Arachnarok Spiders. But let's see. King Louen is already down to half HP, but the Orc Warboss is routing. Arachnarok Spider is wavering. And I think Nurbis might have just been able to crack this nut. That Arachnarok Spider dropped so quickly. Yeah, the bonus versus large of the Bretonnian Spearmen at Arms there at the end. And King Louen just being a naturally beastly monster unit. Did so much work there at the end. Was able to drop the Arachnarok Spider very quickly. And then the leadership penalty with the Orc Warboss routing kicked in. Greenskins routed, and Nurbis took that. So, good use of terrain there. Maybe a little bit lucky. The map pool wasn't fantastic to give him such a nice terrain advantage. But with that said, did have pretty nice micro other than that Knights of the Realm micro mistake at the beginning of the game. Did a good job getting charges off into the Greenskin main line, willing down those infantry units from Duck. And AggonyDuck had a tough time going up that hill. He was shredded by those Peasant Longbowmen. And overall, well played to both players. Hope you guys enjoyed it. More content coming very soon.